As we're all well aware, Dan McStay won't be playing for the next 6 to 8 weeks. The proper injury report isn't out yet, so we await that. But who can replace him? Let's look into it. So Dan McStay cannot catch a break. The poor dude has gone through ACLs, PCLs, MCLs, all these knee issues, and he's finally gotten back to a place where he was performing week in, week out, performing really well, had a great preseason, great end to his last season, great start to this season. And then something so innocuous happens and he injures his MCL. Thankfully, it wasn't another ACL injury where he'd be out for 12 months because it was the same knee where he had that first ACL injury. So that really just is insanely positive. The footy gods were looking out for him. They didn't want him to go through that again. So that's in a bad situation. That's really, really good news. But again, it's still an MCL injury where he is 6 to 8 weeks out. Now, in a video that's going to be coming up, I'll be with Dr. Ethan Alou, the osteopath, who's going to talk about the MCL injury, what that sort of means, what rehab looks like, and what that means for him getting back that confidence and all that sort of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. But Dan out leaves a big gap in our forward line and in our second ruck structure. This start of the season, we've seen the big M's, the triple M's go up against it. So we've had McStay, Myercheck, and Tim Membry in that forward line, with McStay chopping out in the ruck, helping out Darcy Cameron. Now, that's worked magnificently. If I was to have one qualm with that, it would be that I don't think this has been Brodie Myercheck's best start to the season. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't think he's had that good of a start to the season just yet. That's not neither here or there. I'm just that's just something that I've observed over the last few weeks. He is playing a different role now, so I do understand that. But with Dan McStay out, that leaves us one big man short. And in this video, I just wanted to go through a couple of options, play devil's advocate, and then give you what I would do towards the end. Because we do have a few options. We do have some interesting options, and options that we've seen over 2023 and 2024. So let's talk about them. Option A, which is probably the most obvious option, is Mason Cox comes in and it's a straight swap between Dan McStay and Mason Cox. So Coxie played against the Bulldogs and then he played against the Brisbane Lions when Lockie Sullivan was laid out, and then he came into the lineup when Membry was being rested. So in that match, Mason Cox was the second ruckman to Darcy Cameron, and that was the match where I was kind of like, oh, he did okay. I still think Membry is the better fit there. But again, I'll keep saying this until the cows are home. He is a great tap ruckman, and we do play better or good with him. I just think he's lost a little bit of his pizzazz, if you will. Hasn't kicked a goal so far this season, albeit he's played 2 of a possible 7 games. So I fully understand, right? I fully understand that. So how this would work, how option A would work, is that Mason Cox comes in and he plays a Dan McStay role. So he's in the forward line. He can chop out in the ruck as well. What that gives us, it gives us 2 ruckmen. Dan McStay is a good second ruck. You would probably prefer if Dan was in the forward line all the time because he can clunk those marks. But with the setup that we were going with, having Membry and Myercheck up forward, it allows Dan to sort of be that second ruckman. So Mason Cox would come in and play that role and play it pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how Cox, Membry, and Myercheck go about it together. Because McStay, Membry, and Myercheck, they're tongue twisters, worked really well. So it's going to be interesting to see how another cog goes into their already moving machinery. Option 2, or option B, did I say that was option A? I can't remember, right? Option 2, option B, is a Charlie West debut. So Charlie West comes in for Dan McStay. Now, if everyone in my comment section on Instagram or people on Facebook, everywhere, they're saying, yes, let's go Charlie West. He looks great. He's kicked 11 goals 2 or 11 goals 3 in the VFL. I think there have been 4 games in the VFL so far that we've played, and he has looked incredible. We've talked about him a lot. I keep comparing him to Logan Morris just because of how Logan Morris burst onto the scene for the Lions and what he's been able to do. Charlie West can take a really good contested mark. He's a big body for an 18-year-old, so he does have a lot of growth, but he competes like I haven't seen before. He is a full forward that we just don't recruit, and we've finally recruited one. And, he was a pick 50. It wasn't like he was a full forward with a top 10 draft pick. He was very late in the draft, and he's literally a diamond in the rough, or a diamond in the draft, if you will. But what does this mean for the second ruck position? If Charlie West comes in for Dan McStay, we lose a second ruck position. So we know that we like playing with two ruckmen. Last week when Dan McStay went down, we saw Ned Long chop out, Brody Myercheck chop out. I don't want to see Brody Myercheck chop out in the ruck. His body has been through it, since 2018, since he debuted. Ned Long, they could kind of use him like a Patrick Cripps type, as that sort of second ruckman. Again, would rather Ned Long just do Ned Long things and not have to worry about the ruck, but it's almost like a dummy ruck situation. How option 2 would work out though with Charlie West, how I would sort of see it, how I would play it, and it's probably not the way that we should be going, but again, devil's advocate, is if Darcy Moore is ready to go, he's over his vertigo, he comes in, we could virtually play Billy Frampton as our second ruck and finish it in the ruck if we need to. Billy Frampton was training with the rucks for a bit of the preseason, or probably a third of the preseason. He was helping out with the ruck work and stuff, so that is an option there. We saw it back in, it was probably the start of 2023, or I don't think it was the start of 2024. It was when Cox and Darcy Cameron went down. We had rucks of McStay, Ash Johnson, and Billy Frampton at the same time. So we have done it before. That option would only be if Darcy Moore comes back, because if Darcy Moore doesn't come back, you can't put Billy Frampton in the ruck, because then you're effectively two tools down back short. And if Charlie West, so that's the option B. So Charlie West comes in, Billy Frampton jumps in as a second ruck, or maybe Ned Long comes in as well. I think the most obvious choice and what they're going to go with is the tried and true option A. So Mason Cox comes in like for like. I dare say that we do see Charlie West debut in maybe not the next couple of weeks, but at least the next month or so, because he has been absolutely smashing it in the VFL. If you've been watching my VFL previews, you know I have a big rap on him. I love everything that goes about it. But I think Mason Cox is the most logical choice, just because it gives us that second ruck option. I wouldn't really want to move Billy Frampton out of that back line, because he's done so well. Even if Darcy Moore is in there, I just wouldn't want to move him into that back line. And I wouldn't want to put Ned Long into the ruck situation either. Darcy Cameron can probably chop out most of the ruck if he was to ruck by himself, and then you would need Ned Long to do a couple around the ground. Billy Frampton maybe takes the ones down back. But losing Dan McStay, it does stuff us up quite a lot, right? Because like I said, they work so well. Those three Triple M's work so well together. And Dan McStay is probably, I want to say, he's the best mark or best contested mark in our team so far. We haven't really utilized that contested mark prowess a lot to our advantage, but I'm hoping that Mason Cox, when he does go forward, and the beauty about Mason Cox is because he's so tall, right? And this has just been his thing for so long, but because he's so tall, no one will really be able to outmark him if he uses his height to an advantage. The one gripe that I have with Coxie, and I love Coxie, right? But the one gripe I have with him is that he doesn't use his height to his advantage, and he doesn't use his body to his advantage either. He should be clunking pretty much every single mark. But what Cox does is he brings it to ground. So if we do have to smash that ball there, if he's not marking that ball, he's bringing it to ground. And then it gives our crummers a chance to react. And hopefully Lockie Schultz is ready to go. So I wouldn't mind Lockie Schultz crumbing to Mason Cox if he's in that forward line. But look, if you want a third option, if you want a third interesting option, could we see Oscar Steene debut as an actual ruck forward? So how Oscar Steene would work, same way Mason Cox would work. Oscar Steen's coming off I think it's an 18 possession, 6 clearance, 6 tackle game against Essendon's VFL side. So if anyone was ready to debut, it would be Oscar Steene as the Mason Cox mold where he is the second ruck. We saw this in 2022 where Brodie Grundy went down for a number of games, and Brodie Grundy went down and Aiden Begg came in, or was that 2021? It was one of those years where Aiden Begg played a few of those games, even though Aiden Begg was underdone. But we needed that ruckman. Could Oscar Steene come in and see, just give him a couple of games, see what it looks like, because he, on paper, and if you watch that BFL game, Oscar Steene did have a better game than Mason Cox did. Mason Cox had a good last quarter. He did kick 2 goals in that second half, one from a free kick and one from a really nice mark. Oscar Steene, I think from memory, kicked 1 goal. But he's a tall boy. He is our future. Oscar Steene is our future. Oscar Steene is the Mason Cox replacement until we put time into McCarthy, one of our NGA prospects. But that's not until the 2025 draft, 2026. If you wanted to just do something different, give Oscar Steene a debut. You want to see what these kids can look like. Oscar Steen's been in the system for a couple of years now. Give him a debut. If you're not going to give Charlie West a debut because you're scared of that second ruck, Oscar Steen's a good ruckman as well. That could be a third option. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like option 1? Do you like option 2? Or that sneaky option 3? Let me know down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.